Hello ladies and gentlemen, Panzer here, and today I'm taking a look at Ascend, Hand of Kull. Now this is a game developed by Signal Studios, and they're also the same guys that are behind the Toy Soldiers game, which I covered before. Now this is a third-person hack-and-slash RPG title that originally began life as Ascend New Gods on the Xbox Live Arcade. So if you had a gold membership, you actually had access to this game on there for free as well. And now it has arrived on Steam as a free-to-play, but under the guise of a beta title. And that's mostly because a lot of features are not implemented yet. Chief among which would be the cooperative multiplayer, which is supposedly coming in future, but has not arrived just yet. So without further ado, let's get on with the actual gameplay. And now immediately what you're looking at right here is a sort of monochromatic view, and unfortunately this is exactly how the game started off for me when I came up to record it. And what this is the actual Ascension process. Now, ascending your character is one of the main features of the game. At a certain point you will reach a imposed level cap, and in order to bypass this cap, as well as to advance and earn new abilities, you have to sacrifice your character, which is an interesting idea. It allows you to build an entirely new character with a different alignment. Now, I should probably cover at this point that there are 3 different factions that you can take part in. There is the Darkness faction, Light, and the Void. 3 different factions which are all in sort of a war with each other, and all represented by particular gods. So, at this point, when you ascend your character, you will be sacrificing it in the name of a particular god. But then, you get to choose a new alignment for your next character. Now, you do have legacy items which you can save and carry over to your next character, so it is possible to rebuild exactly the same character if you so choose. However, there are benefits to choosing another one, including a free spell, for example, by choosing a new alignment. Also, it does affect your overall build for your character, so in order to build the so-called Ultimate Chaos Warrior, you do need to change your build every once in a while, and as well as ascend a couple of times at least. And now we go through the character creation process. Now when you first start the game, of course, it does ask you to go through that. And you get to keep, of course, your currency from the previous character. So here's all these items that you're looking at right now that I'm about to purchase are completely unnecessary. They are all cosmetic, so far as I can tell, to a certain extent. So let's have a look at the items down here. They go all the way up in price to 250,000 souls. Now, to put this into perspective, because you can purchase these items as a microtransaction, these are the prices that you're looking at right here. I've not edited this in any way. This is completely from the game. So at the lowest tier you have $3, or your regional equivalent, for 15,000 souls. And of course at the highest point that is $75 for 750,000 souls. So of course there is the sort of gradation going on throughout this, so you can see that the higher up, the more you purchase at one go, the cheaper per soul it's going to be. This is not new in any way, and we've seen this in many free-to-play games before. But to put it into perspective, what does that actually get you? 15,000 souls will get you one of these. So this particular face, amongst other things. So this face right here, 250,000, is actually just between 20 and possibly around $30 worth of souls, which is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But this is completely unnecessary. So I'm just going to choose this one, which is the one I was using before, and we can change his skin color. So I was using red before. Let's see what else we have. Let's make him this color instead. So he's a bit yellowish sort of color here. Now, of course, these have to be, from what I can tell, you purchase these every time. It's purchased across for that particular character only. So if I was to purchase this one, I believe you get to... Yeah, it does look like you get to keep it. I'll just keep this one. does appear that, yeah, the next time I choose a character, I do not need to purchase it again. I believe that's the case. I can't be too sure at this point. And of course, I can change his hair color, and there's a lot of different colors available, so I'm just going to quickly go through all of this. And here we get to the bulk of the actual purchases. So these are armors that you get to choose from. You get a few starter items. All of these starter items are at the same tier, so minus the legacy items, these would all be in the same row. So you got the next level up, all these that cost 690. These all have the same stats. You can see it on the right hand corner of the screen down there. Underneath the souls, you can see the armor rating is actually the same, minus a few. The top level, of course, the higher up you go, the more of an effect it actually has. So I'm just going to stick with the legacy item because this is actually better than the top level, the one that we can actually buy. So here we go. We'll stick with that. I'm just going to quickly go through all of these because, as you can see, at the same level, it's basically a cosmetic difference. There is, for example, these two look different, but they do the same thing. So you can imagine, yes, those within the same price range will end up doing the same things. It is entirely possible to recreate the same character that you have created before. The only difference is that it is a completely new character in that sense. So it does not retain the same stats, I believe. Because you're... I'm just going to purchase these, because these look nice. Because I believe you do take a hit to your experience, however you do increase your level cap, if I'm not wrong. So the only way to really reach the maximum level in this game is to sort of continuously upgrade yourself by just repeating this process of ascending and sacrificing your character, and of course rebuilding it all over again. And you can do this every single time. So, of course, weapons that are in your inventory that you do not sell, you are able to keep them. So this is the weapon I bought before, so I get to use this again. It's a decent starting weapon. Of course, then we get to name them, so just for... Yes, I'm an imaginative person. I can call it Deputy. There we go. And there you have it. That's a character creation all out of the way. Alright, now I want to talk about combat. And in this game there are light and heavy attacks, which in this case, if you're using mouse and keyboard, it is your left and right mouse button. And used in combination with a dash attack, you can produce many different sort of melee combinations. Some you may remember this sort of system from games such as God of War and so on, which use very, very similar systems. It's a tried and tested system which seems to serve this game quite well. Take note, there is no dodge attack though. But you can, however, substitute that with the dash, so it seems to work out in a similar fashion, but you don't see any dodge rolls or anything like that. And there's also this execution, which you can periodically carry out, which does give you some invulnerability frames, so while you're doing that, you're not going to get hit. Additionally, there is also a magic system, so you can cast certain spells. There's no mana in the game, but each spell does have a cooldown. So, of course, you know, using them, it is limited. And all of these things can be upgraded. This game is mostly single-player, but it's single-player in the same sense that Dark Souls is a single-player game as well. If you're looking at Dark Souls 2, for example, characters are all around you, but in different phases most of the time. You do see their silhouettes from time to time, if it is not a instance dungeon, of course, or if it is a hub area, you will see them pop in now and again, but they are not in the same phase as you and have no effect on your actual mission, unless of course you want them to. You can actually send, for example, you can send enemies into another dimension by using a spell. Just stomp his face in, and you can actually send them into another player's phase to attack them, and the game encourages you to do that by giving you currency as a result. So very nice. Now this dungeon actually has become more difficult since the last time I played it, and the reason for that is because when I ascended I was actually a level 7 character, and it's knocked me back down to level 5 as a result. So while I might have a higher level cap than before, and I have a certain accolade attached to me now, I have actually lost a significant amount of experience, and which I have to build up again. And of course, I am now outmatched by the enemies in terms of level. Of course, they're not as strong as, you know, my character is. So what this character actually is, now it may seem like he's just a normal sort of beastly kind of human character, but actually he's not. He's what you call a chaos warrior. So in the lore anyway, the entire world is dominated by these creatures called titans. And the titans are gigantic. There's no denying that. They are mountain-sized creatures, which I've only counted one yet, and I haven't actually fought him yet, so I have no idea how that's going to turn out. But they are gigantic characters. But yes, these Chaos Warriors are actually really tall. They are the size of houses. In fact, later on, if I get a chance to show you, I'm actually going to show you one of the more unique features of the actual game is interacting with humans, because the humans are absolutely tiny. So, and they have their own purposes that they serve. Ultimately, let's just face it, the world isn't particularly kind to humans. And here we are at level 6, and of course it refills my health every time it does that, and gives me a little flourish every time. Now, what you've just seen there is a advertisement. To put it bluntly, it is an advertisement. Every time you level up, the store will give you an offer for weapons that you can purchase. So, of course, this is how the free-to-play kind of comes into it, is where it tries to feature certain things for you to buy. So what we have here is a bunch of weapons, armor, stuff that you can afford and some that you definitely can't unless you've been playing for a significant amount of time. For example, if I want these, I can purchase these, but if I want a new sword, for example, not likely to happen at this point in time. So that's where it sort of entices you to purchase something else. You could wait until you get, you have enough to do it, but then the store might re-roll and then you end up not being able to buy it in the end. So it sort of entices you to kind of buy them as you go. Of course, you can also have the option of re-rolling the store manually by paying 200 souls. And that can sometimes give you some better gear to buy, or it might not. It's all really just a gamble. Yes, so it definitely entices you to spend money, because you never know when these kind of deals are going to appear again, and the weapons themselves, from what I can tell, are fairly random. But again, it's entirely unnecessary to buy anything, because you can actually loot them from these chests that are located throughout various parts of the world. So they may contain currency, or they may contain gear. And the gear itself can be sold on the spot for currency, or it can be equipped if you so choose. And it does give you a preview, so if you're the sort of person that cares just as much about the looks, yeah, basically if you're like me and you care about the way the armor looks more so, or just as much as the actual stats of it, then you might be keen to find out. Now, as for the actual controls of the game, right now I'm using the keyboard and mouse, and it seems to work fairly well in that respect, although I would recommend checking out the key bindings at least once or twice to make sure that you've got it bound to something you're comfortable with. Because ultimately this game does have a console feeling to it, after all it started off life as one. So it's definitely going to be more optimized for the use of controllers, and I definitely wouldn't argue otherwise. I'd say it still controls decently well with a keyboard and mouse, there's no denying that. It seems fairly smooth. In fact, you don't have the usual problem of 8-directional controls that you may have with when you directly control switch from controllers to a keyboard. You don't actually have that problem anymore. Now, if you're looking at my character, you notice his helmet is actually glowing. That's not a buff, that is actually a warning to tell me that my helmet is actually damaged. So there is a durability down here, and you can see I'm going to have to repair it. Or I can choose to upgrade and repair as well. Sometimes doing both together is about the same. Nears makes no difference in cost. So upgrading both together might make more sense. Alright, so there are actually magical spells that we can use, and I'll just demonstrate one now. So for for light characters, we have a lightning ability which can stun a character and do some damage. Those aligned with darkness will actually have the abilities of fire, if I remember correctly. And those aligned with the void have ice. So I'm not sure exactly how they came up with the different alignments and their elemental powers. I don't really understand the lore all that much, to be honest. But it does add a bit of flavor to the way things are done. Additionally, he's glitched into the wall there. So as you can imagine, this game does have a lot of dungeon running in it, but there's more to it than that. In fact, there is a Dominion map. The 3 factions are actually at war with each other. Let's see, I could take this or I could sell it, but I think I'm going to sell it because it's going to cost me to repair it anyway. Let's open this. We open everything with our boots in this game, as you can tell. Definitely. That is the way. So as you can see, it is actually sitting there on my character, on the boots down here. It has actually hidden my original ones and put themselves over it. I don't quite like the look of it, so I'm going to keep those, but I'm not going to equip them. These seem to match the armor a little bit more. Yes, I know, it's not the most important thing in the world, but I'd rather have a nice looking character anyway. I'm one of those people. So, the Dominion map actually has... There's a series of altars around in the different villages, and by so-called desecrating the altar, you actually have the ability to... Ooh, this looks nice, actually. I might equip this. There we go. So I have a hammer with a big pointy stick blade at the bottom. Yes. Okay, so we're supposed to break this thing. There we go. And we've unlocked a gate. Of some sort. Do we go back? Oh, we do have to go back. Alright, this might actually take some time, so I am going to skip ahead to another part and come back later. And as it turns out, actually, I made a mistake. The teleporter at the end of the dungeon actually would have brought me here too. But not to worry, we're here. So, anyway, as I mentioned before, just now you've seen popping up on the left side of the screen, that is the what I was talking about, the actual leaderboards, and they offer very seemingly benign things. Oh, hang on. It's a new enemy type, I've not seen you before. Shield bearer of some sort. Alright, there is a way to break their blocks, of course, by using heavy attacks, so we're going to do exactly that. And we're going to execute you. And that, of course, is a new execution type I've not seen before. From what I understand, there are different executions based on the different weapons that you use. Now, I've been using two-handed weapons, such as the glaive that I was using earlier, and this hammer now. And I seem to like these quite a lot, although they're not the only types of weapons that you can use. However, it is all melee weapons. There are no ranged weapons for you to use. Also, there's the lore items to collect from these stones over here. So we are continuing this with the story. Now, just a little bit more on the actual phasing and stuff between characters is that you, as far as it goes between other players, for example, if you want to play with friends, this is probably not the game for you, because you can't actually do that. You can't form parties of Chaos Warriors and go running dungeons. You can't do that. The game doesn't allow you to do that for one reason or another. But what you can do, of course, like I mentioned, is you can banish creatures into the other player's phase, or you can even send them curses or blessings, depending on, you know, what sort of player you are, which means you can send them buffs or debuffs to help them out. And as far as I can tell, you know what, I think that might be the only execution for that particular type of character. Sad. From what I can tell, that is basically the only way to get buffs and debuffs. I've not encountered a spell as yet, although I haven't played for very long yet, that allows you to buff yourself. And aside from NPCs and story events, as well as daily login events, you don't seem to be able to get buffs in any other way other than from another character or another player playing at the same time. So, but of course, correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, because from what I can tell, that seems to be the way it works. But again, that could be entirely inaccurate. I'm starting to think that that is the only execution type for this particular enemy, which is unfortunate, but you know. Destruction seems decent enough. I mean, the weapons seem to have a good amount of impact. There's a bit of screen shake and definitely a bit of force behind each hit, especially with the way everything works. So what you've just seen here is I've taken over this shrine and corrupted the land. Now it's gone to the darkness side. Yes, to the darkness. However, I still have a light side spell, so you can see the skills of each character actually are dependent on the previous characters. So the spells themselves are actually legacy as well. Alright, one of the things I do want to show you also is the game has a really elaborate leaderboard, also known as the Inner Sanctum, down here. So when you first create your character, this is the place that you will be dropped off at. Of course, at that platform that we were at earlier. Now, these are the players that are currently the top of the leaderboards in their respective alignments. The biggest ones, of course, being the tops, and then, of course, we have the rest of the leaderboards on the left and right. Very nice way of sort of thanking your players, I suppose. You know, giving recognition to those that are playing extremely well, I suppose. Definitely not bad at all. In fact, the whole design of the place isn't that bad looking, honestly. If I'm honest, it is actually quite nice. Alright, so this is exactly what I wanted to show you. This is a village, because this is an enemy village. So you can see the humans are attacking me, and some might try to climb up on me and do stuff. So when I stomp, they go flying off. And of course you do gain XP every time you kill them. So there's a lot of benefit to actually doing it. You can't really directly damage them simply by swinging your weapon. About the only thing you can really do with them is to actually just stomp them into the ground. However, there is an additional thing you can actually do, and that is let's say I'm low on health. Alright, I'm starting to take a lot of damage. I'll just go up to one of these guys and eat them. You can scoop them up off the ground and eat them. Yes. Perfectly normal, nothing to see here. Just pick them up off the ground and eat them. And this works for basically any sort of smaller object on the ground. For example, I see these, looks like cows over here, cattle. So of course they have their livestock here. I can decide to eat one of them. There we go. So it's one of those things that you can actually do. Feeling a bit peckish. Ah. So, is it any good? Well, Ascend Handed Coal is a free-to-play game, so you're not going to lose anything by trying it out. And business model seems fair enough, although some items, I will admit, are a little bit on the expensive side. Graphically, it's not going to bowl you over. It is definitely showing its age. However, it's good for a couple of hours of play at least. The story-wise, as far as I've gotten into it, seems decently well written, but there's no voice acting in any part of the game, as far as I can tell, so aside from the intro cinematic, you're not going to hear very much voices, which can make it a little bit dull at times. When the cooperative multiplayer does come into it, I'll have to see how that actually affects the game overall. But for now, it does seem worth checking out, but I wouldn't hold your breath on this one. It definitely doesn't seem like a title that could stand up on its own, being on PC. And there you have it, folks. This has been Panzer taking a look at Ascend Hand of Cull, now available on Steam as a free-to-play title with microtransactions. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Kill.